This wasn't just some dramatic moment made for TV, it was pure chaos. We're talking about real injuries, real arrests, and a situation that quickly spun out of control. Stevie J ended up in handcuffs. Lil Scrappy was rushed to the hospital, and the scene looked more like something out of a crime show than a reunion special. Think about it. What could push someone to the point where one man is shouting a woman's name like it's a curse, strapped to a stretcher while the other is being dragged off by the police? That's not just TV. That's something raw. This wasn't another storyline cooked up for Love and Hip Hop. This was the real deal. Private messages leaked, voice recordings made their way online, and what started as a backstage disagreement blew up into a violent mess no one saw coming. One crew member said the scene looked like Mike Tyson and Suge Knight went at it in a cramped backstage room. So, what sparked it all? A love triangle gone bad, a betrayal that cut too deep, and a year-long grudge that never really cooled off. If you think you've seen every kind of drama reality TV has to offer, this will make you think twice. What went down that night wasn't supposed to come out. Producers hoped the details would stay buried, but now, everything's coming to the surface, and not just because it was messy, but because it still matters. Just when it seemed like the tension between Scrappy, Bambi, and Stevie J had settled, it exploded again this time. Fists flew. It happened during a private taping for the Love and Hip Hop reunion, one that was meant to stay off the radar. No official cameras caught what went down, but word spread fast from the people behind the scenes, and the leaks haven't stopped since. According to insiders, the tension had been building for weeks. Scrappy was still trying to process his painful breakup with Bambi, and when he showed up for filming, you could tell he wasn't there to play nice. On the other side, Stevie J walked in like he was hosting the party, sunglasses on bottle in hand, flashing his usual smug grin. Security picked up on the energy immediately. The moment those two locked eyes, it was obvious something was coming, but no one expected it to turn violent so fast. Before filming even began, Mama D was already on edge. She was pacing and arguing with producers, warning them not to let Bambi and Stevie anywhere near her son. She was loud, waving her hands, telling them she'd shut the whole thing down if they didn't separate them. The production team ignored her. That was their first mistake. Minutes later, the set looked like a war zone. Glass shattered, people were screaming, and by the end of it, Scrappy was headed to the hospital with serious injuries, while Stevie was being arrested. So how did it all start? It began in the holding area. Scrappy had just been hooked up to his mic when Stevie J entered the room with two unknown men. They didn't look like guests, they looked like hired muscle. One witness said Stevie cracked a loud joke about Bambi's OnlyFans, bragging that she made more money in a weekend than anyone else on the cast. That hit a nerve. Scrappy stood up, tossed his phone aside, and called Stevie out. "You still running your mouth after everything you pulled? You a straight clown." The room went quiet. Stevie didn't back down. Instead, he leaned in close and whispered something in Scrappy's ear. No one's willing to say what was said, but whatever it was, it made Scrappy snap. He lost it. Chairs were knocked over. Someone was thrown into a wall so hard that a painting crashed to the ground. A producer screamed for the cameras to be cut, but by then, it was already way past that point. Scrappy's face was bleeding. Stevie looked like he had injured his ribs. Then things took an even darker turn. Stevie reportedly pulled out a small silver blade from his pocket. Security jumped in instantly, tackling him before he could do any more damage. Scrappy slid down the wall, clutching his side in visible pain. Paramedics were called on the spot. Stevie was arrested on the scene, and Scrappy was rolled out on a stretcher while shocked staff looked on. By the time Scrappy reached the ER, the media had already gotten wind of it. TMZ showed up so fast that some hospital staff said it felt like a red carpet moment. Flashes going off everywhere. One nurse joked it was worse than when Kanye's cousin came in for a foot injury. Meanwhile, Mama D showed up at the police station and started going off to reporters, treating it like a full-blown press conference. "I warned y'all," she said, clearly furious. "Stevie's been drama since 2003, and now my son's in the hospital because of him." But here's the twist. The fight wasn't just about anger or jealousy. It goes deeper. Behind back, Bambi and Stevie had apparently teamed up to pitch a new spin-off show together. The working title, Bambi and the Bad Guy, and guess who was backing it? Mona Scott. That's right, the same Mona who made Love and Hip Hop what it is today. Scrappy had no idea about the show until just days before the reunion taping. So when he found out, he didn't just feel hurt, he felt betrayed, it explains why Scrappy walked into that taping already wound up and ready to confront Stevie. But there's another layer to this that makes things even more disturbing. A medical report from the hospital was leaked in. It showed something odd. Traces of strong sedatives were found in Scrappy's system. These weren't drugs he was prescribed or expected to have. If someone gave them to him without his knowledge, then this wasn't just a fight, it might have been a setup. A crew member even said that before Stevie arrived. Scrappy was already acting off, slurring his words and stumbling, which was unusual. For him, they thought he might have just been tired or emotional. But after that hospital report came out, people started asking different questions. What if someone wanted Scrappy at a disadvantage? What if this whole thing was part of a bigger plan? So now, what looked like a brawl between two angry men is being looked at in a whole new light. Between the secret spin-off, the betrayal, and the strange hospital report. This isn't just messy, it's suspicious. And as more people start talking, it's clear the truth is still coming out. Stevie J's camp didn't say much. They issued a short statement claiming he's innocent and refused to answer any other questions. But it's too late for silence. To clean up the mess, the set where the fight happened is now being treated as an active crime scene. Police have stepped in, filming has been stopped, and legal teams are now knee-deep in damage control. The producers, who thought they could manage another round of drama, are now scrambling to keep their entire show from falling apart. But while Stevie J is staying quiet, someone else had no plans to hold back Bambi. Not long after the chaos, she went live on Instagram. Dressed to impress, glass of wine in hand, she looked calm and even a little smug. "Y'all only know half the story. Wait for the real tea," she said. That was enough to set the internet on fire. The comments section blew up instantly. Some people accused her of setting Scrappy up. Others called her and Stevie the real villains, demanding answers. And as if that wasn't bold enough, she ended her live with a wink and said, "Season premiere coming soon." Meanwhile, Stevie J lawyered up fast. And not just any attorney. He brought in a high-profile lawyer tied to the Kardashian inner circle. The same guy who once said he didn't represent messy drama. But now Stevie's facing 2 felony charges and might also have to deal with a civil lawsuit if Scrappy's side takes this all the way. His days of brushing off legal trouble might be over. Scrappy's lawyers aren't wasting time either. They've already sent a cease and desist letter to the show's producers, demanding all raw, uncut footage of the incident. They want everything, every angle, every mic feed, every camera shot that might show what really went down. At this point, production is frozen, but the drama, that's just picking up steam. Then something unexpected happened. A backstage surveillance clip leaked online. There were bodies shoving, people yelling, and what looked like Stevie lunging forward at someone before the footage abruptly cut out. No one's buying that it ended there. Even worse, reports say security had to break through multiple locked dressing room doors just to reach Scrappy, who was going at Stevie like it was personal. And by the time they pulled them apart, Stevie's shirt was torn, and he was covered in bruises. Here's where things get even stickier. People who work behind the scenes, like makeup artists and sound text, started speaking anonymously. According to them, Scrappy had already wrapped filming for the day. He wasn't even supposed to be in that part of the building. 2 doors down, Bambi was shooting a confessional. That's when producers brought in Stevie J as a surprise guest. Another classic setup to stir the pot. That setup worked a little too well. Some critics called Scrappy immature and said he needs to control his temper. But others pointed out that the producers were poking the bear. And let's not pretend Bambi didn't know what she was doing. During another live stream, while her friend sat beside her whispering, "Don't say too much," Bambi couldn't stop herself. Her lashes were halfway off. Her voice cracked, and through tears, she said, "I tried to protect Scrappy, but y'all don't even know the half of it." That one line sent people spiraling. What had she tried to protect him from? Was there something darker going on behind the scenes? Rumors started flying that maybe Bambi and Stevie were closer than anyone thought, possibly even plotting to edge Scrappy out of the show altogether. Then someone claiming to work in post-production dropped a bombshell. They said Bambi and Stevie were seen in Mona Scott's office for over an hour before filming started. Papers were exchanged, discussions were had, and Scrappy wasn't part of it. It looked like a deal being made without him, which only fueled the idea that this wasn't an accident, it was a trap. Mama D, of course, didn't hold back. She exploded across every platform, TikTok, Instagram, even somehow resurrecting her old MySpace to go off on everyone involved. She called out Bambi, Stevie J, Mona, and yes, even Scrappy. "He ain't perfect," she said, "but he didn't deserve this." To her, it was a complete ambush, and she made sure the world heard about it. Things got even more unhinged the next day. Bambi showed up at the hospital with a camera crew in tow and a mic clipped to her shirt. She wasn't there to visit Scrappy, she was filming the first episode of her new docuseries title, The Stevie J Betrayal. No announcement from VH1, no press release. But sources say the network's executives were losing their minds. Fans started threatening to boycott the show. A petition demanding the unedited reunion footage reached 40,000 signatures overnight. Behind the scenes, producers were panicking. They started pulling editors from other shows to sort through hours of footage. Reddit was flooded with slow-motion clips and freeze frames, with fans analyzing every expression and every whispered word. In one clip, Bambi can be heard allegedly saying, "Get him out of here now." If real, that could change everything then. Court dates dropped, and even more chaos followed. Scrappy was still recovering when Stevie made bail. Inside the courtroom, it was a circus. No cameras allowed, but plenty of whispers. A legal assistant leaked that Scrappy's lawyers were painting him as a victim of a setup. Meanwhile, Stevie's defense called him a mentor figure, which did not land well with anyone. But the biggest twist, Bambi took the stand. She claimed. Mona's production team brought Stevie J in behind her back, knowing Scrappy would react. She said she didn't know he'd be filming that day. She also admitted that tensions were already high, and she was uncomfortable with the way producers pushed for conflict. Then came the leaked DMIs. Supposed messages between Bambi and Mona suggested they knew exactly what they were doing. One line stood out. "Let him pop off. It'll go viral." When Scrappy saw that in court, he reportedly broke down in tears. Mama D, sitting behind him, whispered, "Didn't I tell y'all?" The judge has since ordered a full review of VH1's production policies. Hours after that, Scrappy's hospital records leaked. Dislocated shoulder, mild concussion, and emotional trauma. Some online jokes started flying saying he had acute betrayal stress disorder, but it wasn't funny to fans. A GoFundMe called Justice for Scrappy raised over $90,000 in just 3 days. There's even talk that Mama D is filming her own tell-all series. As for Stevie J, he wiped all his social media accounts clean and disappeared. Some say he's hiding out in Miami. Then came the final nail. VH1 intern leaked a 4-part TikTok series with behind-the-scenes audio of Mona allegedly saying, "I don't care if they fight, just keep filming." VH1 finally released a generic statement saying filming was paused and they're reviewing safety protocols, but the damage was done. Atlanta's buzzing. Bambi posted a photo with the caption, "Unbothered, blessed, booked," and fans immediately clapped back. Yeah, booked in court. Hit that subscribe button for more updates, because this isn't over yet. Not by a long shot.